you, don't do that. I actually learned you can still carry a baby, my precious little baby. He's just having a bad hair day. You can still carry and draw one-handed. I've been playing around with the incline tactical bag, and if my support hand is busy, I can actually still get to this with one hand, and I don't have to yeet my baby off my hip. Check out the incline tactical bags. They have a variety of colors. They've got blue like this one back here. They've got another pink and coral. They've got black and tan. 5 different colors. I like this one because it matches my shirt. And the name is called My VCR is Huge. But it's got really good and smooth zippers. There's Velcro on the inside. Add your own Velcro backed holster. Great for subcompact and compact. You've got 2 pull tabs, so whether you're lefty or righty, and he did add the weight to it, so that way it hangs out of the bag nicely. It's not going to fall back in the bag. And then you've got an additional pocket on the front with more Velcro. For personal items, you can stage, something in a Velcro pouch like a spare mag, or you've also got the front pocket for additional items. I love these bags. They're water repellent. I usually wear them to walk my dogs. I take these to the gym all the time. But if you're looking for just a small option for when your hands are smothering my baby, when your hands are busy, because I personally don't suggest carrying your pew-pew in a large diaper bag. Those get set down or they're worn as backpacks. They're more easily, stolen off of your shoulder or going to be set down. They can be stolen out of a grocery cart or off the floor. So you can carry your diaper bag like a backpack and then have just a little fanny pack, and you can still have access to your self-defense tool if you're ever put in a vulnerable position and you have to react.
All right, so that video was from the Instagram channel alpha_female_tactical. And I wanted to just mention a couple of things that I noticed here. So obviously, this is a worst case scenario. None of us want to think about the possibility of having an infant in our hands in the worst moment of our lives. That sounds like the things that nightmares are made of. But there are some pros and cons of whether or not you should put your baby down. And I wanted to talk through a few of these and then kind of give you guys some resources for some places that you can go to get additional education on this topic. In force-on-force classes, what I have pretty consistently seen is that when you are holding the infant and you are trying to draw one-handed and get good hits on target, the child actually got hit more often by the bad guy, sim rounds than if you put the baby down. And so it seems like in these scenarios, oftentimes putting the baby down is the safest option for them, even though it, of course, is going to go against every single instinct that you have to keep that baby close. But we have to think about this logically. The bad guy is trying to shoot you. He's not caring about your kid, most likely. There's very rare situations, right, where it might be actually a kidnapping attempt or something like that. But in general, the bad guy has his attention focused on you because you are the one with the gun. If you were to put your baby down and move away from the baby as you're getting a good two-handed grip on your gun and getting your sights on target, that is probably going to result in a better outcome for both you because you can get better hits on target with 2 hands, and for your baby because you are kind of distracting the bad guy in a direction that is further away from your child. When you keep your child in arms, obviously that bad guy's rounds could hit your child accidentally, even if he is aiming at you. You can help move the danger away from them once they're on the ground. And it's very rare for the bad guy to shift focus. So if the bad guy is focused on you because you are the biggest threat to him right now, you have a firearm, you are the biggest threat in the moment, he is very, very unlikely to shift his interest to the child on the ground. It's super unlikely that that is going to happen. In general, I think the best practice, if possible, is going to be putting the baby down so that there's a little bit of space. But now let's talk about some of the cons. You might have a baby who is unwilling to be let go of. You could have a child who is clinging onto you or refusing to let go. You could have a child who's actually being worn in some sort of a baby wrap or a carrier. And in that case, it would take way too much time and attention to take the baby off of you in order to get it onto the ground.
So let's talk about 1791 group. If your business is in the firearms industry, you've probably felt it. Marketing's expensive, social media is hostile, and it's far too easy to get lost in the noise.
The 1791 group fixes that. They help you to cut through the clutter by clarifying your message so customers instantly understand why they should buy from you. Then they build the systems, your website, CRM, ads, and content that actually turn interest into sales. And because they understand the community, they can even get your brand in front of our gun owners' radio audience, which includes over 100,000 engaged gun owners every month.
Don't waste another dollar on marketing that doesn't work. Go to 1791group.com, that's 1791group.com, and tell them Michael from Gun Owners Radio sent you. Start growing with a team that's on your side.
So there are some situations where that's just not going to be possible. It is not going to be feasible for you to put the baby down. If you do choose to put the baby down, that has to be rehearsed and practiced. It is very hard for parents to let go of their kids, especially in a moment like this. So you definitely have to get some reps in, make sure that you're practicing that in a safe way, obviously not with your real infant. What I've seen in classes is we use weighted backpacks or baby dolls to pretend to have an infant in our arms. And there are lots of different methods for putting a baby down quickly that is relatively safe for their bodies. We also want to remember that babies are pretty resilient, right? They get bumped around. It's all right if the baby is sitting up when it might, kind of fall back or something like that. Obviously, we don't want to do what was shown in this video at the beginning as kind of a joke, which is throwing the baby out of our arms. That is obviously not safe for an infant. A couple of resources I wanted to mention for you guys is the Armed Guardian class. This class is by Melody Lauer of Citizens Defense Research, and they have done a lot of force-on-force training. They've done a lot of research on this topic and have found some best practices for how to deal with infants and toddlers when you or if you get involved in a self-defense shooting. I highly recommend their curriculum. It is a fantastic multi-day class where you get to really explore some of the options available to you and practice. Another good resource is Tatiana Whitlock. She has some videos online about carrying with young children, and she has a video that talks specifically about the topic of drawing one-handed while you have an infant in arms. So I would definitely check out those resources as well. We've got some other considerations we want to think about with young kids. So one of those is a best practice for curious toddlers. Now, if you have a toddler who's right at that perfect height to bump their head into your gun on a regular basis, you should be ready with an excuse or with something that you tell them that makes them aware that they should not loudly announce in the grocery store line, "Dad, your gun just hit my head." We want to avoid those sorts of awkward experiences. So there are a few different options you have. You can have serious conversations with your children about the fact that carrying a gun is a private matter that we only talk about at home and away from other folks. We could have a conversation about never lifting people's shirts to look underneath, as that is private and should not be done in public. We could have conversations about belt buckles or something else that you could use as an excuse to your child if and when they hit their head. There's also other things that we can think about related to family safety plans. If you have young children, you should have a plan in place for when you are out and about in public. If you see something unsafe or you think that you need to leave quickly, you want your children to take that seriously and begin listening immediately. A lot of times kids are curious and they're going to have questions like, why do we need to leave? Why are we going so fast? We don't want to get bogged down with those kinds of conversations in the moment. So a lot of families will come up with a word or a phrase that they use that means, hey, this is very serious and I need you to listen without asking questions or pausing at all. In my family growing up, my dad did this. He would often tell us things like, oh, pay attention to that guy in the gas station situation over there. He's acting a little weird. If I tell you to run to the car. So we kind of already had these like pre-planned things where my dad would say, if you ever hear me tell you to run, you just run to the car as quickly as you can. You do not ask me twice. You don't ask questions. You don't look around. You just take off running. So he had those kinds of conversations with us when we were young. And I think that that's a really good way to ensure that your kids are going to be the best listeners that they can be in that moment. There are some serious trade-offs with any of these things, and obviously we don't like thinking about the realities of carrying a gun and needing to defend our family or our children, or dealing with, young unruly toddlers or infants in the moment of a self-defense situation. But we want you guys to know that the right call is going to be very situationally dependent. Sometimes fleeing is the best option. Sometimes putting the baby down is the best option. Sometimes having the kids leave the situation could be the best option. But mentally rehearsing this, even though it feels horrific to even think about, is one of the ways to ensure that you make a better decision in the moment.
Hey, thanks for watching Gun Owners Radio. I hope you loved that clip. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on social media, and check out our website at gunownersradio.com.